With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I stand before you that rare breed of geologist, one wearing a jacket and a tie. So if you see me perspiring this evening, it's not because I'm nervous, it's just because I feel very uncomfortable without my thongs and my hammer in my hand, so my apologies for that. To correct perhaps a small mistake, I'm not the head of geology for QMC, that's Dr. Jon Gilligan. He did his PhD in the Cloncurry area, and knows more about the geology and deposits in Cloncurry in the Queensland district than I'll ever know. I think my role is that I've spent a significant portion of my career in the interface between exploration, advanced projects, and new mining ventures. And the reason why I decided to spend some of my time with QMC was because they're at a very exciting point where they've got some discoveries, they've got some resources, they're trying to take those resources and turn them into a mining venture. And for me, that really excites me, and that's why I'm prepared to spend a bit of time with them and guide them through this stage. The slide you see before you is their pipeline. It's quite an extensive pipeline. You've been besieged with a whole bunch of names of different projects. Howard indicated 80 projects. One of the lists I reviewed last week had 106 different prospects on them. And in fact, in the field when I was there last week, the problem isn't the same problem as you would find in Olympic Dam, where the ore body is 350 metres below surface, or at Escondido, where it's 120. There is copper everywhere in the Cloncurry belt. Duck Creek, which is one of the prospects, has 76 registered surface claims and small workings in an area of something like 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre. The issue for QMC is prioritisation. What do you look at first? What has the potential to make it into a resource that's a sufficient size and threshold that can be turned into a mine? So this is where they're at the moment. Top of the pile, you have the White Range and Hampton deposits. Those are essentially Greenmount and Curradala are the two resources that have already been declared, that when you look at them, they're well drilled. They have good information in terms of the geology, grade control, the resources are well understood. They're a tick in the box. They're about 100,000 tonnes each of metal. That's a tick. The Young Australian is the next cab off the rank in terms of drill work for this year. That will be drilled out substantially this year, and the expectation is that that will make it into that sort of resource category. That's the third individual resource that starts to form the picture of a significant resource that you can then complete a strong and viable feasibility study on. As you go down, you see there's not only are there gold opportunities, but the copper comes forward. Flamingott, Stewart, McCabe. These are very interesting, the majority of them, very interesting prospects that have some strike extent of old workings, but the geology, where you can see low silicified ridges, which form the shear zones that are these deposits, has significant strike continuity. The company's conducted, in many cases, surface soil geochem, lag geochem. They've done, in some of the deposits, ground geophysics, and generated a series of really quite interesting targets. The next step for the company, and that's the step I'm going to support them in, is to take the drilling program, confirm the final resource estimates for the Greenmount and Curradala. That drilling this year includes metallurgical work, as Howard indicated, and indeed probably some geotechnical work, and then work with the extensive exploration portfolio, using expertise from Gujang and his team in the field to prioritise 1 to N, the exploration opportunities, and then drill those out systematically. The ground is permissive. The ground is hot with respect to copper, and I think the company is very, very ambitious and expects to have some significant copper finds down the road. So I'm happy to support them in the transition from that emergent advanced explorer into a copper producer, and I think it's a pretty exciting company. Howard, I'll pass back to you, mate.
Thanks, John. I think it's, I've given a couple of these presentations, not many. The last one was in Hong Kong, but it's nice to hear somebody talk and has been on the ground besides a corporate man without a geological degree. You can see we've got these circles. These presentations are out there. They're 10 kilometre circles, so that gives you an idea of that when this BFS was done, it was based on Curradella and Greenmont, but we've got our own mines. You can see the Young Australian there, and you can see further down to the south we've got Stewart. That's right in joining mines owned by Ivanhoe, so we're interested in doing something with them because we've got the Young Australian up there where they surround us, and we've got the mine down there which is annoying them. So there's a lot of differential in cartage rates, so you can see that we are working together to rationalise our approach to the economics of mining. Their processing plant at Osborne, we're thinking about a processing plant in the middle of the bullseye. There's a processing plant at Cloncurry at the moment, as I said, and there's one just going in at Morris Creek. And just out to our right, 40 k's, we do have the Ernest Henry processing plant. We've had sulphides we've had sulphides metallurgically tested by Ernest Henry for delivery out of other deposits to the north. So it's a great infrastructure area. The railway line runs, as you can see, through Malden there, coming up from Duchess. The roads are bitumen down to Malden. The haul roads are going into the north. So there's right up to Curradella in due course. So the gas pipelines at the south of us, and we will look at gas to come in, probably with Ivanhoe as well. So they've got gas in at Osborne, gas in at Cannington, and we probably need to bring the gas pipeline north, or we have to come down on the electricity lines, as you can see from Morris Creek, and that's a gas-fired power line too, but that might be, maybe that's an option. We've got to look at those in our feasibility studies. Just moving quickly here now, you can see the white range has got the circles of interest. We're building up in these circles to, 100, 200 and 300,000 tonnes. That's where we hope to be at this year. We're just commencing a 10,000 metre drilling program. Stage 1, beginning of September, if things are going well, another 10,000 metres, and followed by another 10, that's 30 for the year. That's RC. The RC rigs are very powerful. We pay more for the fuel, but they can penetrate down to 350 metres and get very good recoveries and get through water tables. We've got a diamond rig starting at the end of this month that's programmed to do 4,000 to 5,000 metres of diamond drilling, and that's to do with the MET tests, it's to do with processing, and it's also to do with resource building, etc., which we need to do. That's a picture of the Young Australian that was mined by Mount Isa Mines in the 50s, or 60s, sorry, in mid-60s. And that goes up along strike, both to the north and south, quite significantly. And we have a mining lease to the north of this one. You're looking south here at the moment. There's 3 lenses there, but they come into 2. That shows you the going north there, and that spot in between is what Ivanhoe's got as an EPM. It's more than a needle in a haystack. It's nearly a needle somewhere into us, I can tell you. On the gold fields, we across only 25 k's from this, we're just surveying a road to come across. We have the Mount Norma copper sulphate plant and silver mine, and just lying either side of that on our semi-haul roads and water supplies, we've got the Gilded Rose gold mine and the Mount Frida gold mine. That particular area there, we've got a lot of area that Exco adjoin us and up along strike from Mount Frida, and that's where they've got gold resources too. And that's why we're mutually in discussions with them in writing at the moment. And the same applies to the north, where you can see Flamingo and at Jessevale. They're lying to the west of us at Jessevale and then joining us all around up to Flamingo, as they do with Altona too. That's a shot of the Mount Frida gold mine. As a matter of fact, it's open at depth. We're going to put 3 or 4 diamond drills down there. We went through 10 to 12 grams there when we last drilled it down at about 280, and it's still open, and we're still in the, we haven't even got to the sulphide zones, let alone the transitory zones yet. It's all oxidised basically. That's the high-grade plant of Gilded Rose. We went through some very high grade there, as a matter of fact, but it's averaging 4.2 grams, and we're going to go and drill that to see if we can get up to another 40 or 60,000 ounces, and we can bring that plant on very quickly. That'd be a nice little cash flow. We're hoping to do that later this season. This is the Blackfort one quickly, that's the IOCG targets I was talking about, which is close down to Curradella. We've got 6 of these, went through very significant intercepts last year, and we need to follow. That's the high impact ones. The corporate sales, which you've been reading about in the paper, really values, we've tried to take like with like, so we're concentrating on EXCO, about 20 cents a pound. That's what it works out at. We've got about 600 odd million pounds of copper at this stage. And I guess the other sale is that which was done with Copperchem, that we're going in, they're paying them $20 a tonne to take it there or out of the pit and deliver it into their mill. So we're basing those sorts of sales in our negotiations, at this instance with EXCO. You can take those sales in looking at valuations of the company if you wish. That's the drilling program I just mentioned to you. You've seen plenty of those graphs. This one's fair income though. It's just been released, the Lock report today. Really what it's showing us here is our enterprise value, unfortunately, is very low to where it should be. So we're trying to address that issue. It does create, for those people that want to see an opportunity in a company like this. And again, it's demonstrated here that our grades are really good when you kind of look at our peers and understand what our peers are doing there. We're sitting about 1% copper. So without going into the value propositions, which you can read and I've expounded to you, yes, we are undervalued. We are addressing the issues. I believe we will get these deals done in the next period of time, which will alleviate the company through joint ventures and possibly, and that is joint ventures into exploration, joint ventures maybe into wide range, and especially those offtake agreements, so that the capital required by the company and for shareholders, when we're so undervalued, we don't wish to be putting the shareholders or ourselves in that position. In other words, dilution. As I said, Appendix 1 and 2 you can read. I've been through that. It shows 269,000 tonnes at 0.2 and 221,000 tonnes at 0.1. I'd just like to say in concluding, and thanks very much ABN Newswire, which I've been involved with for over a year in disseminating some of our information to our Asian investors, as well as potential joint venture partners. We've had a couple of them visit, and I mean significant ones. And Dr. Gao, who's the chairman of Yunnan Copper Group in China, is probably reviewing this tonight, and I've received an indication that he's visiting, because he's one of our neighbours are coming down here, and he wishes to visit our properties, and he's most welcome. We've had quite a long relationship with Yunnan Copper here in Australia ourselves in dialogue, and there is others like that which I won't name tonight. Cadeco obviously have got somebody involved from China, so they're certainly there, but that's not to rule out other foreign investors who we have in our area. I mean, Ivanhoe's Canadian, Xstrata's Swiss. We've got Minmetals there at the moment. The BHP Billiton is predominantly meant to be Australian. So it's a pretty exciting area, and we seem to be a small baby in amongst all these people. So I wish for your support. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Howard Renshaw, Queensland Mining Corporation, assisted by Dr. Jon Gilligan. Questions from the audience, please. Down the front here. Rochelle, have you got a microphone there? Just down the front here. Fabulous.
Thank you. There's obviously a lot of copper and other interesting things in the Cloncurry district, but my question to you is, really, it's a fabulous region in terms of prospectivity, and it has a cycle attached to it. What can you share with us in terms of the difficulties in terms of realising that opportunity? Because we've seen a lot of players come in, we've seen the Canadians and others, and I'm a believer in the prospectivity, but I just want to understand why it is that with copper being so favoured, we're still, I think, as investors, struggling to understand why we should bid the Cloncurry.
I'll let first go.
Sure.
It's a bit of a difficult question, but it's regarded as one of the, world's top class mines and copper areas. I mean, there's not just copper there. There's, silver, lead, and zinc mines, was one of the biggest in the world. There's base metal mines that are the biggest in the world. So it's the same with copper. I mean, it's regarded as still a very underexplored area. Some of the copper is lying deep and some of it is shallower. There's so many, which I'll just ask John to make a comment, because he made a comment to me about the various types of structures in this area. Like banded ironstones, IOCG, he can just mention a couple of others. It's just, it needs money in it. And the money has not been really put there. I mean, Ivanhoe Mines, when I said to my board a couple of months ago, I said, well, Ivanhoe Mines walked into that area in 2003 or 4, and the plant that was originally down there that they bought was sold off, and they went back to exploration. And I said, they've put over $140 million into drilling down there. And they said, oh, that can't be right. I think I'm conservative. I think it's a lot higher. It might be 200 million. I mean, that's the sort of money, like they've increased their resources. It is substantial. I don't know what's been expended by previous Altona sort of investors. I know in putting forward the discoveries that have been made by our predecessors in White Range, what we call the White Range, and etc., I've said the exploration's about 50 million. God only knows what the drilling's cost. I know the BFS study that Matrix did cost 7 million, and before that they spent other money in relation to that, which was another 9 million. That was 16 million just in that particular area. So, it is very challenging, because again, I come back to my friend Kevin Maloney. We're in Bolivia together when copper was 60 cents a pound. And it frightens the hell out of us when we come back to, on the back of this question, we see it at $4 a pound plus at the moment. And, we're very concerned because, we have to find deposits that are robust enough to withstand, substantial copper price falls. Since I've had this company, I've seen the copper price go from 2,800 to 8,000, back to 3,000, back up to 8,000 or 9,000. I mean, it's quite alarming. But all I can say is that we have good cobalt in this area, we have molybdenum coming through with certain our deposits, and whether you like it or not, this is a very uranium-enriched sorts of areas when you find it. And I'm not going to make any comment whether we've got uranium or not. It's too sensitive.
Any other questions from the audience?
Well, just let John.
Oh, John, sorry, John. Done it again.
Very simply, what are the negatives? Mature terrain. Relatively small deposits historically, with some really big ones, so not much sitting in the middle. What are the positives? You can put together a series of resources that are on your back door in a country with supposedly low sovereign risk, depending on whether you believe that or not.
Canadians being polymetallic?
I'm sorry?
Is the polymetallic element of it interesting?
Well, I think
Daughter metals and stuff.
daughter metals?
Well, the other stuff.
Byproducts or co-products. Yes, so certainly the cobalt is an interesting add-on. You can produce that out of your oxide leach circuit. Gold, if you go to a sulfide leach circuit. So to summarise, I think it's on your back door. QMC is the type of company that can put together a series of modest deposits and actually make a go out of it. There is tremendous exploration upside. So and this particular company holds a significant amount of ground that allows them access to discovery. So,
any further questions from the audience at all? One over here in the corner. Let's get a mic down there. Fabulous.
Hi, Theo Circles from Burnbar. Howard and John, just one question. Obviously, Exco have sold out of their Cloncurry deposit to Xstrata recently. My question's a simple one. What's your market capitalisation at the moment? And if the market was valuing you the same way that Xstrata deal was done with Exco, what would your market capitalisation be?
It would be on the same things. It's 221 would be 440 million divided by 5 approximately, so just on that alone it'd be around about 90 million at the moment, because that was 1% copper they sold. 221,000 tonnes of 1% that we have is about 440 million, and that's just on our measured and indicated, and that's basically, they had some of that too. And we're capped at the moment about 35 million at this stage.
That was Howard Renshaw, MD, Deputy Chairman of Queensland Mining Corporation.